Welcome everyone. I see Tamara, Katerina, Rita Lee. Hello. It's great to see your faces. Well, we have I know time goes by really fast in these meetings. I want to give more time for people to arrive, but I think I also want to get started so that we can also finish on time. So I want to welcome everyone and welcome all of you as you are entering the meeting. We are starting today's meeting of the Oregon Secretary of State Translation Advisory Council. This, as you know, is a public meeting and will be recorded, so please note that. I want to ask everyone to please stay on mute if you're not speaking or addressing the council, so that we can hear the person that is speaking. And I don't think we have anybody over the phone. Looks like we are all attending online. We may have someone join over the phone, but for now, looks like we are all attending online, so you can mute yourself with not speaking. Holly is here tonight with us from the Secretary of State. She will be helping us determine if we have a quorum. We will have a few voting items in the agenda tonight. So just to make sure that we know who is here and if we have quorum, I'm going to ask all of you to please write your name in the chat and add voting members so that we know your name and whether you are a voting member or not. I see a few more people joining, so welcome everyone. Please write your name in the chat and whether you are a TAC voting member or not. We are going to establish quorum to get started. And then lastly, if there are any members of the public, I don't believe I see any unknown or new names in my list of attendees, but it could be possible that they will join. There will be no public participation or comments today, but they are welcome to email us with any questions or comments that they have about the council or the meeting today.
I cannot write my name on the chat box. This is Sutapa.
I have the same problem too. It's Tamara.
Okay.
I'll write your names in the chat for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if there's anybody else that hasn't been able to write in the chat their names, please unmute yourself and let us know that you're here. Okay.
This is Tatiana Horner. I can't write it either.
Oh,
yes, same for Tatiana Turdal.
All right. Okay.
I
Thank
gotcha.
you so much.
I could not write my name too, Hector.
Thank you, Hector. Thank you all. I see you writing your names. I'm gonna move along. I want everyone to take a look at our agenda tonight. We have new members joining the council, so we will get an opportunity to meet them and welcome them. We will also be voting on approving the minutes of our last meeting that happened in May. We will be electing a vice chair for the council, and we will hear from the Secretary of State staff about the program of the TAC and the activities of their program during this year. And then after a break, just a quick reminder to mute yourself. Thank you if you are not addressing the council. Thank you. And then we'll have a guest from the Language Accessibility Advisory Committee. So it's a group very similar to ours that works and functions in Los Angeles County. We'll have their director, Kathy Feng, joining us to talk about their work. And we will close our day today with community time and hope to adjourn at 8 p.m. Thank you everyone for staying on mute, and welcome again to our last meeting of the year. As we go, and if you can use the chat, please feel free to write any comments or questions in the chat. Holly will be helping monitoring the chat, and Kelly, if you are unable to use the chat, feel free to unmute yourself, identify yourself, and let us know what you want to say. Before we get started, I want to open space for Anne Burke-Jones, and is actually the Elections Administration Manager from the Secretary of State. They joined the Elections Division in April of 2025, so earlier this year, but Anne has worked in Oregon elections since 2013, serving several counties, so Marion County, Lane County, and Clackamas County, and has professional experience and certifications in elections administration from the Oregon Association of County Clerks and the National Association of Election, and is here today to say hello and to meet the council. So, and thanks for joining us today, and please welcome me, or join me in welcoming Anne tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's great to be here. I appreciate the invitation to meet you all and to get to say hi. I'll be very brief. I don't have a whole lot to offer other than my heartfelt thanks and appreciation for the work that you do. As was already said, I've been working in Oregon elections for over a decade. And one of the things that I try not to take for granted is the fact that we live in a state that wants people to vote. Our lawmakers have passed laws that literally say that all Oregon election laws and procedures are to assist voters exercising their right of franchise. And to that, the services provided by you all, the Translation Advisory Council, I genuinely believe are the best examples of those laws, because the law doesn't simply require us to produce a translated voters pamphlet, but to ensure that those translations are clear, culturally responsive, and contextually accurate. Like, that's the real value of the law. It's not the words on the paper, it is the people involved. The time, the talent, and energy that you all give to ensure that Oregon voters have materials that they can understand, that they know what they are voting for. The work that you do is proactive, that I believe demonstrates to the voters of Oregon, and in many cases historically marginalized voters, that we as a state and as a community at large value them and want them to fully participate in how we govern ourselves and how we organize ourselves, and that we function better as a state when their voices are heard. I know that TAC has only been around for a few years now here in Oregon. We know that there is room for improvement, that the Translation Advisory Council itself does not solve language access issues for all Oregonians. There are still barriers, visible and invisible. And while there are limitations to the services that we can offer, especially in these particularly challenging economic times that we're in, we should always be striving to improve, celebrating these wins that we have, where we have good policy that are pro-voter policies, pro-community policies, and looking for opportunities to provide better services. We are doing some of that. We are moving beyond just voters pamphlets. We are providing voter registration materials in other languages, making it easier for folks to register to vote online. And then this next year, we'll be requiring information around the automatic voter registration processes at the DMV to be provided in multiple languages other than just English. We know we should be doing more. We can always be doing more. And I would say that you all have such a valuable perspective to offer, in those opportunities. Just in the same way that you're providing context for those translations, you can provide context to us and to the government, to our division, on how we can better serve our communities. Kelly shared with me just briefly a little bit about your engagement survey, and I wanted to share how encouraged that I am about the participation and the responses. We really need your perspectives and your feedback to tell us how we can improve. Even if we can't necessarily afford to do that right now, it will give us leverage. It gives us the story to tell to the lawmakers when we need to ask for more funding to provide better services, to expand services to voters. So just to wrap up, thank you again for being willing to serve. You bring so much value to Oregon elections, and I genuinely believe that we are a better state because of your efforts. So thank you all for being here, and thanks for inviting me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us and for sharing in the spirit of inclusion and voting in our state. So thank you again. I know a few members have joined since we started, and I want to ask everyone to please, if you haven't, put your name in the chat and let us know if you're a voting member, so we know everybody that is here will be voting today. And I think before Anne goes, we want to meet the new members of the council. Since we last met in May of this year, we have added 4 new members that were appointed by the Secretary of State. So I want to ask them to briefly introduce themselves. I think it's kind of a tradition now to say hello in your language so we can hear it. Tell us your name, the language that you are supporting the council with, and briefly tell us one of the reasons why you were motivated to join the council. So I'm going to call on the new members. I'm going to start with Sakia. Sakia, if you're here, you can unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the council.
Yeah, I just wanted, I don't know, I put the chart, my name, and it was showing reddish. So I don't know if you guys can see my name in there. But I'm going to introduce myself again. My name is Zakia Momin, and I do Translation Advisory Council for Somali specifically right now, although I am multilingual speaker. I already told earlier with the other members in here, I speak Somali, I speak Mai, I speak Urdu, I speak Swahili, and I speak English. And as of right now, I am serving Somali specifically. I mean, the reason I joined the member is straightforward, that I really wanted to give clear, because in Somali, it's not like other languages. It's very hard. You have to be culturally specific, accurate, and clear whatever you are saying. Otherwise, people will actually say, I don't understand it. I'm not going to read this. I do not care. And most of the communities have a background of immigrant and refugee. They are all trauma informed, like correction is very important for them. So I just wanted to see what I can help and what I can present in a better way. I can see that the members, you guys, the house is too hot. Can you turn it off the heat? I'm sorry. My daughter, whenever she comes home, she turns on the heat, and I am getting cooked. As you guys can see, I'm feeling too warm. So I feel like you guys are doing pretty good job. Literally, it's like something I never pay attention before. But when I like came here and I met Kelly and Ollie and so many other people, today another person, Rebecca, the services, it looked like, I don't know what to say, but there's a lot of things that you guys are doing for the community and people does not know. I feel like we should do advertisement of what you guys do, because what I see in the community right now for the last decade, if I look back, people did not even care to read voters information. Pamphlets, nobody was reading anything in my community. Right now, my mom will read information. this is really nice. Oh, they
Yeah.
do these. So I am gonna finish it because I'm very excited.
Oh, no. I think I think all those things that you are sharing are really important and things that a lot of us share. I wanted to say that we will have at the end of our meeting, we have a space called community time, and I think it'll be a great place to continue this conversation. Right now, if it's okay with you, I want to also give space for the other members to introduce themselves so we can continue with the agenda and make sure that we can finish on time. But yeah, I'm really glad that you are here and that you appreciate the work of the council. We are glad to have you. Thank you. And
Yes. Because that's the first question. I was just talking, and
Oh,
did not even say the right
yeah,
thing.
please do.
Okay.
Say
It's
it.
very Setahay. It's Somali Setahay.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm gonna go to Angeles or Angeles.
Angie?
You're here, Angie. Okay, Angie, please go
Hola.
ahead.
My name is Angie Mueller, and my first language is Spanish. I help with translation in Spanish. I speak at home. I'm bilingual. My family is, my husband is from the US, and so we have 2 kids, and we first language here is English. And the reason why I came as I became a member, it is very interesting to do these translations, and happened that I work for the elections office, where I understand a lot of the measures, the language of the elections. So it is very attractive for me to help in wherever I can to participate in these kind of translations, to make it more available to the community that I help in the office, by Hispanics. When it's time to vote and everything, I can explain in my own language what it is. So yeah, it is a pleasure to be here, part of this committee. Thank you for letting me have it. Let me be part of it.
Thank you, Angie. It's a pleasure to have you too. And then I'm gonna call on Hector and then Bean last. Again, I'm sorry if you can keep it brief, but Hector, let's meet you.
Yeah. My name is Hector Buenaventura. We say, to say hello in Filipino, we say "Kumusta," which is like "Como está" in Spanish. And that's the informal one. And we're supposed to do the formal one. We say "Mabuhay," which is "May you live." So I've been discussing with some members before that Tagalog is just a dialect in the Philippines. It's not the official language. But for now, doing the translation in Tagalog will be sufficient. The reason why I joined the council is because I've got nothing to do since I retired. So yeah, so I got lots of time besides singing. I guess that's it.
Oh, all right. Great. Well, these are singing and doing these 2 great things to do with your time. Thank you for considering us too. And then Bean is our last new member.
Hello. I go by Nam actually. So
Nam. Okay.
yes. Hi, and then in Vietnamese, hello is Diao. So I am interested, and I was motivated to join the council because I also work with Multnomah County Library, and during voting season, I think I saw a lot of people who were coming in. They wanted to figure out how they could participate, and I saw how important it was to have like materials and resources in a language that they could understand and be able to participate. That's one of the reasons why I'm here.
Well, welcome, Nam. Great to have you with us. Cool. So now well, the new members will have some time to meet the older members, hopefully soon, but we're really happy to meet you tonight. And we are going to just kind of jump into business now. I want to start by, well, we're going to vote to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Of the last meeting in May. You should have received them in the pre-meeting email, and hopefully you had a chance to look at them. Before we vote on approving those meetings, I want to check in with Holly and make sure that we have quorum tonight for a vote.
Yes, we have over 17 members present, so you should be good for a vote.
Awesome, cool. Thank you. Good, we have multiple votes tonight, so that's good. I want to, just before we vote, ask if there are any corrections to the minutes that you saw that you would like to be made. And if not, I'm going to ask for a verbal motion to approve the minutes. Here in the slide, we have how to make the motion. So may I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented and sent to you? Flor, I see your hand.
Yes, I make the motion to move to vote for the approving the minutes.
Thank you. That was Flor making a motion to approve the minutes
Flor
as
Prate, sorry.
presented.
Forgot to say my whole name.
Prate.
Flor Prate, sorry.
Thank you. And then can we have a second motion to approve the meetings? I see several hands. I think Sai, you're second. I also see Tatiana, if you want to.
Yes, I want to second the motion.
Okay, thank you, Tatiana, for the second motion. So this is going to be a verbal vote. So you will unmute yourself and state your vote. So be ready, please, to unmute yourself and vote. And so I'm going to ask the question. So all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, please unmute yourself and say yes.
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 Thank you. And all those not in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, please unmute yourself and say no. Okay, so thank you for the vote, and the May 17 minutes are approved by verbal vote. Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have another topic to vote on today, and that is the vice chair position for the council. So Catalina Frank was the last vice chair in the council. Her term ended in July of last year. She attended the last meeting in May, but her position is now vacant. So today we will be voting to elect a new vice chair. In the last meeting in May, we accepted two nominations, Natasha Emery and Fleur Prade. They are here with us tonight. And in the meeting materials, we included biographies of all the members so that you could be more familiar with the nominees and who they are. The council vice chair is a person or a member that serves for a period of 2 years and can be re-elected for a second period up to maximum 4 years. And the person in this role will act as the chair in the absence of the chair, and is a person that supports the council in planning meetings, preparing meetings, and any other leadership roles that are assigned. So since it has been a while since we met and heard those nominations, we plan to reopen the nominations for vice chair again tonight, just to allow consideration for additional candidates. So today, we will accept nominations from the floor for additional candidates. if that is okay with you, we will have to vote again. So if it's okay for us to reopen the nominations in case there's additional candidates, will someone make a motion to reopen the nominations for vice chair for today?
I'll make a no. Oh, sorry. Am I supposed to raise my hand?
Yeah, I see you, Lee.
Go ahead, Igor.
Yes, I would like to self-nominate.
You like to self-nominate, okay.
Yes.
Before we get there, we'll have to hear from the council if someone wants to make a motion to reopen the nominations.
Thank you.
I motion to reopen the nominations for vice chair. Fleur Prague, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Fleur. That is helpful. And do we have a second person to support the motion?
I second that.
Great, thank you.
Who was
So,
that? Who second, please?
oh, yeah. Yeah, who, the person that just seconded that motion, can you please say
That was
your
me,
name?
Sai.
Sai. Thank you, Sai, for seconding that.
Yeah.
Okay, so please again prepare to unmute your microphone and vote just to approve the motion. So all those in favor of reopening the nominations for the vice chair today, please unmute yourself and say yes.
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 Thank you. And all those not in favor of reopening the nominations for vice president, please unmute yourself and say no. Okay, thank you. So the motion is approved again by verbal vote. We will reopen the nominations for vice chair according to the vote. So let me move my slides. Oh, okay. So we have one nomination, right? It is Lee. Self-nomination, Lee. Thank you for nominating yourself. Are there any other members who would like to nominate a member or self-nominate to act as the vice chair? Don't be shy. Yes. Okay, so we have, as of now, the slate of nominees includes Natasha Emery, Fleur Prague, and Lee Wei. Is there anybody else that would like to nominate a member or self-nominate? We'll just ask one more time. Okay, we heard from Natasha and Fleur in May, but Lee, I wonder if you want to, in a few words, let us know why you're interested in the position of vice chair.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Good evening, our wonderful TSC members and guests. So my name is Li Gui, and I am currently work for the Oregon Health Authority as a program analyst. I have the privilege being a part of our TSC since September 2024. I am fluent in 3 languages, and I serve our council by reviewing both traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese. Driven by my passion for helping others, I am proud to self-nominate for the role of vice president. So my experience includes serve for the government, court, hospitals, and other organizations. So with my experience, I would like to serve you our dear members to serve all the Oregonians with votes by providing a more accurate and easy understanding of voter terminology to build our trust and accountability. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Lee. That's great. I want to call on Fleur and Natasha briefly if you have any final thoughts to share with the council before we vote.
Well, I would like to say that I am thankful that everyone is here together, working before the holidays at this late hour and trying to do the best for our community. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Natasha. Thanks for your nomination. Yeah, and then Fleur.
Yes, so first of all, I want to second what Natasha said. Thanks for everyone joining so late, so close to the holidays and all that. What I wanted to say is, as one of, I know some people one of the few people who've been here since 2022. For me, it's been an honor, a privilege. For me, I think being a language teacher, it's allowing me to help those who immigrate here from French-speaking countries to really feel welcomed. And so I hope to be able to continue and work in a different aspect, not just translating, to help progress, to allow, our Oregonians of many different backgrounds feel at home in Oregon and be able to fully help them be able to vote and understand.
Awesome. Thank you, Fleur. We appreciate all of you. So we have you three as candidates, Lee, Natasha, and Fleur. This is going to be a slightly different vote. This will be a written vote. So you will write your vote in the chat. This vote is only for TAC members, voting members, not for the public. If we have anybody who has joined us from the public, Holly will be tracking the votes and will announce the results during our community time later on. I know that some people have had issues to work the chat or for the chat to work for them, I want to say tonight. So I'm going to ask you to vote in a minute and put your name and then the name of the person you're voting for. You can see an example here in this slide. Kelly Mills would vote for Maria in this example. So if you can write that same format in the chat. And if you have any issues with the chat, please unmute yourself and let us know who you are, who you're voting for, so that Holly can track your vote. I hope those instructions were clear. I know we're doing a lot of votes in different formats today, but thank you for that. Are there any questions about the voting process before we go?
Sorry, Sutapa again. I can't write in chat.
Okay.
So what do I do?
Yes.
I'll say the name here.
Yeah, so when it's time to vote in a few seconds, you will tell us now who your candidate is, and same for everybody else who can't use the chat. We can start voting by chat, so you can now make your vote for vice chair by writing in the chat your name and your vote. And those who are not able to use the chat, you can start unmuting yourself, and we'll try to do one at a time so that we can capture your name and your vote. So Tatiana.
Yes, unfortunately, I can't use the chat. So Tatiana, I'm voting for Fleur.
Thank you. Sutapa.
Oh, hi. I'm voting for Fleur.
Okay, thank you, Sutapa.
Hi, Loie Foyer over here on the phone.
Oh, can you repeat your name, please?
Loie,
Loie, yeah.
L-O-I-E.
Yeah. Hey, Lloyd.
Yeah. Anyway, could you please repeat the names of the three candidates?
Yes. We have Natasha and Mary. Oh, let me see. I have them written here with their last names. I'm gonna go back one slide. I want to give you the last names. So we have Natasha Emery, Fleur Prade, and Li Wei.
I'm happy to vote for Natasha.
Thank you. And then Tamara, I see your hand too.
I vote for Natasha.
Thank you, Tamara. Great. Has everyone been able to tell us their vote?
Tatiana Horner.
I will vote for Lee.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for voting. Going through the process together. We'll be counting the votes in the background again, and we'll share the results during our community time later in the meeting. Great.
Can I call it a couple people?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I
I'll just look at
voted
the
through a
people
chat with Kelly. Is that counted?
Yes, Hector's is in the chat. How about Angie Mueller? Do you have a vote?
I do, and I cannot write anything on the chat. So by my vote, I would vote for Li Wei.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chantal, are you able to vote? We'll let her. She said she's driving. So we'll let her.
Okay.
She
We'll let her
put
pull over.
Fleur.
Is it in the chat? Okay.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Ellen, have you voted?
I haven't, sorry. I vote for Natasha Emery. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who else is missing that can't?
Oh, thanks, Kelly, for double checking the list.
Okay. Katarina's voted. Li Hong, Ritu. Are we allowed to abstain? Is a question from Ritu. Yes, you can. We just need a quorum. Okay. Anyone else? Let's see. Nam, have you voted?
I have not. I would vote for Fleur.
Fleur. Votes for Fleur. Sahar, are you online? There. Sahar. Sai, did you vote in the chat?
Yeah, I did in the chat.
Thank you.
Fleur.
Okay. We get that recorded. And it looks like Ritu and Zaki are abstaining.
Awesome. Good. Thank you everyone for your vote and your participation, and Kelly for double checking the list, and Holly and your counting in the back. So thank you. Let's move on with our agenda. We'll have a break after this, but the staff of the Elections Division of the Secretary of State has a report for us on our surveys and some of the work that has happened this year around elections. So I am going to be, just one more thing I want to say is that you may be missing Melissa Maybori. Melissa was supporting us along with Kelly. She left the Secretary of State's office in June for a different position. And so we have Holly Cordero supporting us and filling in during the interim while the new person is onboarded in the job. Holly's here today. So Holly, if you want to say hi, and then Kelly, you can guide us through the report.
Hi all. You've seen emails from me. You've very kindly responded and returned things, which we really appreciate. And it's been absolutely lovely. Happy to help out anytime, but very much looking forward to welcoming our new TAC program specialist, who you will get to meet, I'm sure, very, very shortly, though not tonight in particular. And Kelly, if you would like to touch on anything about Rebecca with the staff report, it's all yours.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So yes, stole my thunder there. We've had a lot of transitions. I think you might remember Marcia joined our staff and she was promoted over a year ago into working on referendums and initiatives and the state voters pamphlet. And then we had Melissa Maybordy, and she left in June. Holly is also in our division, and she works on a particular bill, House Bill, Holly, 4024.
There you go, you got it.
Yeah, so she's graciously been filling in and has been wonderful to work with. And Rebecca Manger has accepted the position. She started about 2 weeks ago. And she is not able to be here at this first meeting, but you'll start seeing emails with her name on them. And she's bringing a lot of experience working in nonprofits, working with international students, working on organizations that support voting. And also she's active in her community in Washington County in the arts. So Rebecca will be joining us soon. Second part of the report today is we had a legislative session that ended 2025-2027, and we also had a brand new Secretary of State, as you know. Tobias Reed started on January 3rd or January 6th, something like that, just about a year ago. And so the new administration decided to not put forth anything in particular to the legislative session, kind of getting the lay of the land, finding out what the needs are and the resources and the history, and also just sitting back a little bit and responding to the legislature's questions about various programs related to voting and other bills. So I mentioned last year that we expected to put through the legislature information about how we can expand providing stipends to members who are public servants, work for counties or the state, districts, community colleges, and so on and so forth. And the other thing was to make my position, I always forget what my title is, permanent. And so those were not put forward during the 2025 legislative session. So we'll be revisiting that with the secretary as he builds his list of priorities for the next long session. And Secretary of State is not allowed to, agencies are not allowed to put forth new initiatives during the short session. So that's coming up this January. It will run January, February. So we'll be looking at those ideas again and reevaluating and seeing where they land with our Secretary of State in 2020. Let's see, session will start in January of 2027 and end in June of 27. So that's that update. And just wanted to report on some of our accomplishments this year. It's been I was going to say ordinary, but no, we added 6 languages. So, but things moved along quite smoothly. We added traditional Chinese and 3 new members, Yu Mien, Khmer, Farsi, Nepali, and Somali languages. So we thank you all who've joined the council this year. And we had a successful May and November elections using those languages. We've had a lot of interest in renewing, so we thank you very much for your continued service. And as I mentioned, and you met some people earlier, we have 5 new members. We updated the member handbook, and the Secretary of State adopted new branding guidelines. Some of you weighed in on some of that over about a year and a half ago. We've incorporated that into the pamphlets. And we're also doing a pilot on graphics. We're trying to add a little bit more pizzazz to the voters' pamphlets by adding their graphic designs that are already in the county printed and mailed pamphlets. So we're getting the translations, and the behind the scenes on graphics is accessibility. So when we have a beautiful drawing of a ballot or someone dropping a ballot into a drop box, we have to behind the scenes put alternative text so that machines that can accessibility read, I don't know how to say that, machine readers, that's what it is, can read the text for people who can't see, or it can be changed into other formats for people who have other disabilities. So it's pretty exciting, but it is a lot of extra behind the scenes that we have to do at the very last step of adding that text. But we're very excited, make them look better. In 2026, we'll be onboarding Rebecca, as I mentioned, and expanding the graphics pilot. We've been working very closely with the Secretary of State's web team to, they're completely rehauling the Secretary of State web pages. It started before the new administration. It's been a project going for over a year, about 18 months already. And you'll see a new look to the Secretary of State web pages and Translation Advisory Council pages. And then some of you who've been around for a while and been in here when we did the primary in 2024 and the general in 2024 and 2022. Wow, we had to review submitted translations from candidates themselves, their own candidate statements, and also from filers of arguments for or against statewide ballot measures. That's one part of the bill that passed, that created the council, and how translations will be provided in different election scenarios. Anyway, when we receive those translations, they're not always the best quality. We're working to educate both filers and the council about professional translations, machine translations, and really putting the best foot forward in terms of the best quality statements in voters' pamphlets. The good news is we've completely looked at the statutes related to voters' pamphlet, related to translations and filings, and we are going to be limiting the reviews in this upcoming May 2026 election to ensuring that they are in compliance with a couple of statutes. However, we will not be verifying that the translations are exactly the same as the English rendition. That is on the filers and their responsibility, and they sign off on their filing. So it will be treated more like a compliance issue for any language filings for the voters' pamphlet. But we still need your help. We'll be asking you to take a look and make sure there's no obscene language, hate language, or any of those factors that we would not want to have in the public. So those are a couple of exciting things. And coming up, Holly ran the annual engagement survey. So she has some results for us and we would like to share.
I do, and I'll have to be unmuted to share. Sorry about that. So engagement survey, you guys have seen very similar surveys before, and we did tend to use similar questions or the same questions in the past so that we could kind of do some comparison on how you guys have felt movement as a council in any way, or kind of get a little bit deeper on if there's any trends there. So we were very, very lucky. 23 responses representing 12 of the different languages on the council, and members from all the different years which we have existed. So very, very thankful and lucky to have such absolutely excellent responses from all of you guys. We also have some benefits that you have all experienced before. Top one continues to be serving the language community, very closely followed by learning about elections and gaining that linguistic knowledge. But very, very happy to see that the program has also provided a sense of purpose and that you are enjoying the connections with peers. We heard a lot of really good feedback about enjoying these meetings as well. So as always, if you do have other engagement type feedback about your experience, you can always send it to us at the email privately. But it's nice to see that as a team, these are some pretty consistent things that members are enjoying on a continual basis. So that top winner, Serving the Language Community, has been consistently at the top of the list for all of the TAC members for the last few times we have asked this question. So absolutely beautiful responses there from all y'all. We did check this time too on the reasonableness of the workload. We're aware that especially with the new languages that have started, the workload is a bit heavier as we get those glossary and static text and those kind of reference resources caught up with those other languages. So extra thank you to all of you who have joined in a new language for the extra heavy lift you're doing this year to kind of catch up with those pre-existing languages for us. But thankfully, most folks did find it pretty reasonable, or at least somewhat reasonable. And we will have some additional supports next year, of course, with Rebecca, with Kelly, with the usual meetings and things like that, for if it does feel a little bit unreasonable. So if you ever get an assignment and you are unsure for any reason, if you can make the deadline, you're having some hesitations, some concerns, always let us know so that we can help you out with that and make sure that everything is on time and not overwhelming for you as volunteers, because we really do value your time. We did get very lucky though with the process of downloading and returning files. You guys rated us almost 5 stars, and similar to the last thing, if you are having any difficulty, those folks who are more at a level 3, level 4, we're not quite 5 stars for you, we can definitely still help you work through that. So if you do encounter any difficulties when filling out the forms, downloading anything, always let us know. We can't help with problems when we don't know that they're there, but if you reach out, we are more than happy to help work with you if it needs to be by email, or if you need a one-on-one kind of video meeting to help sort out whatever the issue is and let us help you resolve that. But very, very lucky we could make it work well this year in terms of getting your files and returning those files. And we really do appreciate the vast majority of files we got were either on time or with some kind of notice from you guys, so that we were able to expect them and work with the vendors to make sure that to the best of our ability that those were incorporated either in this last cycle or in potentially the next cycle if it was a little bit late. So even if stuff does come back a little bit late, we do what we can to make sure that we are incorporating the very valuable feedback that y'all are providing to us. We also have, this is a slightly different question. In previous meetings, we've kind of covered if you know that members, or if you think that community members, you know of it, but this was specifically if they have consulted the pamphlets online. So this one was a little bit more specific of a question than you may have seen in the past. And in the past, we did have a lot of members answer yes, that they had an idea of community members using the pamphlets. But we see here that when we get a little more specific, that it leans more toward not being sure and not necessarily knowing how they might be using those. We did get some absolutely beautiful insight from this as well, though. As always, you guys are providing us the absolute best information from on the ground in your communities. And so right here are just a couple of examples of positive ways that members have seen the pamphlets used by community members. And if you are a TAC member who wishes you knew a little bit more and wanted your community to perhaps see them a little bit more robustly, These are some examples of what other members have been doing to help get those pamphlets out to the different community and language groups that you want to do that outreach to. So we see that in Multnomah County, there was a Chinese group of union members that was able to get the link to them. As a group, they're able to share that around with the folks they know. So really increase the access for people by increasing the awareness there. And then another example of writing a local magazine in that particular language with an article, kind of similar to a letter to the editor, things like that you might see in a local paper to kind of get the word out to people who are reading that publication. So these are a couple of actions that as TAC members you guys can take to help get those out, since we did see a lot of interest in that in the various responses. We also took all of your free form feedback and ran it through a very nice cloud creator sort of system. So what you're seeing here is the overall general feedback that you provided to us. And if the word is large, it means it appeared multiple times in the feedback. And if the word is smaller, that means it appeared less. So what we can see here is that as membership, you all are very interested in the community outreach, the kind of materials that people need, and making those better for either at events. Is it font? Is it the presentation? Is it the images? All of those sorts of things that really lead to quality content in the voters pamphlet and the access of your community. So we are very aware that community outreach is an interest to a lot of members on the council. We also have some observation and feedback. I'm going to let Kelly give you a little more of the nitty-gritty about what we can do with that kind of observation and feedback.
Thanks, Holly. Isn't she great? You guys should call the elections office during an election. She reassures everybody. Yeah, so we categorized some of the written short answers and just highlighted some of them here. These are things within the council's charge, within the statute that created the council to review and advise on voter pamphlet translations. So some ideas here. Always we take some of these back to our web team and our IT team, looking at different kinds of angles and things we can improve. And it looks like a lot of these things are repeated from earlier, the reasons that you're on the council, things that could make the pamphlets better. And we also categorized topics that we had the question, what other projects would you like to work on, and general feedback. And so we got quite a bit of feedback here about primarily outreach, again, community outreach. These things, if you actually read House Bill 3021, like I mentioned before, it's very specific to voters' pamphlets, and it provides the funding for that activity. However, we are housed in the State of Oregon Elections Division. And so Language Access, as my supervisor and was talking about earlier, we appreciate your feedback about areas we can improve and expand, and things that we can take back to the secretary. And also we really appreciate this engagement survey in terms of having written documentation of your advice, where we can expand language access for elections materials. Okay.
Yeah,
We
thank
have
you.
about 2 minutes so we can get to a break for questions and answers.
Can I have a quick suggestion? On the voters pamphlet, are they planning to do QR codes in the future so that people could just use their phone to scan to reach that website instead of typing on their phone?
So there are some QR codes in specific county pamphlets, so like ballot tracks. Angie is here from Washington County. However, I think what you're asking, Meng, is if we're going to add QR codes to, like, where would we put those? I'm not quite understanding.
So like in voters pamphlet, I think when I was reviewing the language page, I don't remember seeing one for the Washington County one. So I don't know if other county has it or not, but like we have to kind of manually type in the address to get access to the translated pamphlet stuff. So like a QR code for that page would make it easier for people to access.
To be publicized maybe in the printed pamphlets where there's information
Yeah.
about the translations. Okay, I got it.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, the printed pamphlet includes the the URL, and you do have to type it, and you have to type it correctly to use that resource. Great idea.
Tatiana?
Yeah, I think that's actually an excellent idea, especially if there was a QR code for each language page, because people are so used to using QR codes, and if they can go to one page where all the election materials in that language are, I think it would definitely improve accessibility. Yeah, thank you.
Any additional questions for Kelly and Holly about the report? Great. Well, I'll stay here in the chat, but we now can take a 10-minute break. It's 7:02. Let's come back at 7:12, ready to start. We have our guest, Kathy, when we come back from the break. So take a few minutes, take care of yourself, and I'll see you shortly. Thank you. Okay, it's 7:12. We are going to get started again. So as you join us, please turn your camera on or type in the chat that you're back so that we know when most people are back. Thank you. I hope you had a good break. It's good to see some smiling faces, refreshed. Great. We'll give it a few more seconds. Thank you. Hello. Awesome, great. Well, this second part of our meeting, we have a really great guest that we've been waiting for to meet since May. So I'm glad that we finally were able to have her with us. And it's been a long time in coming to have a guest from another state's elections office to talk with us. So tonight I'm very happy to introduce Kathy Feng. She is a nationally recognized leader in voting rights and policy innovation and in civic engagement. Kathy currently serves as the Senior Policy Advisor and Head of the Policy and Program Compliance Division at the Los Angeles County Registrar, Recorder County Clerk's Office, where she oversees legislative affairs, accessibility services, campaign finance, and youth engagement programs. Also, this is the largest election jurisdiction in the country. Tati's career spans over 2 decades, including leadership roles at the nonprofit Common Cause, both in California and at the national level. And also, she worked for the U.S. Department of Justice, where she served as a senior counsel in the Civil Rights Division, and she provided oversight on voting compliance. So we are very fortunate to have her here today to talk about the language accessibility work of the advisory committee in LA County. I think we are going to learn a lot. They have been functioning for way longer than us. So please welcome Katai Feng tonight.
Thank you, Magda. Just checking that everybody can hear me. Okay. So just a little bit of introduction, and thank you for that really generous introduction, Magda. I have been doing this work for more than 25 years now. And when I first started as a young attorney, one of the first things that was being implemented at the time was the expansion of the Voting Rights Act to cover a lot of languages that had not previously been covered because they changed the formula. And so kind of the first time that this started getting implemented was in the 1990s. And the LA County really didn't know how to even begin recruiting people for the languages, how to identify where to send people who spoke a second language, right? How to do the translations. And so a lot of things were really a struggle in those early years. And one of my first jobs was working with an organization called the Asian Pacific American Legal Center, and we sent out election poll monitors to a lot of different sites that we believed were in areas where there were dense immigrant populations, just to see how were materials that were translated, were they actually laid out on the counter? Did they have people who spoke those languages? What could we recommend to Los Angeles County to tell them how they could improve?
Every day.
So what I will say is that, 25 years later, what's really exciting is that where it was a struggle at the very beginning, there are really some transformations over time. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. But this county has really embraced the idea that we have to bake in accessibility, whether that's language accessibility or disability or other kinds of access, so that all voters can have an opportunity to cast a ballot. Next slide. So just a little bit about LA County's demographics. We have a total population of about 9.6 million people. And I'm just going to skip all the way down to the bottom. So next slide. Let's see if we've got it on the next slide. Yeah. So we have about over almost 60%, right? People who speak a language other than English at home. And in particular, what we look at is where that percentage is of people who do not speak English well, which I know that this committee knows well. That means that they are limited English speaking, or LEP, and that's oftentimes what is used to trigger both state law and federal law requirements. So in LA County, that's something like more than 1/4 don't speak English well. One of the numbers that I sort of hold in my heart is that we have about 1.6 million foreign-born people who are voting age citizens, who some portion of whom will need some assistance in a language other than English. The number that we have right now is that we have about 400,000 people in LA County who have indicated to us that they need assistance in a language other than English. And so we mail to those 400,000 people translated ballots, and we sort of plot around that. We also know that 400,000 is not even the beginning, it's just the tip of the iceberg, but there's many, many more who didn't request. And so the challenge is always, how do we find where people are at and then meet them to be able to provide the services. Next slide. So like Oregon, we have the Federal Voting Rights Act requirement, and that is one that looks at sort of the county by county, right, and state by state. Where do you have a percentage of people who are of a single language minority, so 5%, and that there are 10,000 people or more, or there are 10,000 people or more voting age who are limited English proficient. And so either of those things will trigger the language requirement. Now, additionally, in California, we have this additional part of the law that says that if there are 3% or more of a precinct or a county of a single language minority, that can also trigger coverage of additional languages. Next slide. So what that means is the combination of our federal requirements and our state requirements means that LA County provides assistance in 18 languages in addition to English. I'm just going to let that sink in because it's kind of gigantic, and it means a lot. Like sometimes the balance between scale and making sure that we have attention to detail, can get lost, right? And sometimes what that means is that we have to put real extra effort to making sure that a community, even if it's smaller in population, still gets the same level of attention as a very large populous community. At the same time, we also know that the demands of certain languages, Spanish, Korean, Chinese, are going to get a lot of people calling us, a lot of people requesting assistance, a lot of people walking into our vote centers to ask for help in those languages. And so we also have to be prepared on the other side of it for volume. Next slide. So one of the things that we had early challenges, but these are continuing, I think, guideposts for us to think about is how can we recruit more bilingual election workers? How can we make sure that we are assigning people to the right places based on the language needs? How do we translate ballot materials to be not only accurate, but also understandable? And then how do we build a long-lasting partnership in multiple communities? And let me just give some examples, because I've been recently talking to our translators. As an example, in Tagalog for Filipino, the word accessibility is not easily translated, but we use it in every third sentence, right? Words like inclusivity. I talked to our Japanese translator and he said, this is not exactly a word that quite matches up, but we use it constantly, right? Another example is when you've got ballot materials, some of which are about your ballot measure, right, or an initiative, but others might be candidate statements. You're going to use different kinds of formality depending on the language that the voter or that is written in. But sometimes the translation that's coming back from the translation service only knows one thing because maybe they're court certified and so they speak in formal language, but that may not be appropriate when you're translating something like a candidate statement or something else that is not written in such heavily formal language. So I'll just say, thinking about accuracy and understandability is always something that we are constantly challenging ourselves to be better at. Next slide. So in 1998, we first created what was called the Community Voter Outreach Committee. And this committee came out of struggle in the sense that it was not voluntarily created. It had to be asked for, and it came through a lot of back and forth. But I think once it was created, for LA County, let me just say the way that they were originally recruiting bilingual poll workers was they were going through the voter registration list, calling people up, asking if they would like to be a poll worker, and then asking if you speak another language, would you like to help us be one of our translators? And it was just excruciating because it was a very difficult way to recruit people to help out. Since then, when we created the CVOC, and I think it's very similar to this committee, the collaboration between community and advocacy organizations and people who have connections deep in those communities means that we are so much more able to do things like recruitment and checking that the words that are used are understandable, and really thinking about how we can outreach into those communities and not just cold calling people off of a voter registration list. Next slide. So since that time, we have created two more committees. One is dedicated to thinking about disability access, and the second one is language access. So that committee has created a charter for itself, and it is focused on three things, right? They give us advice and implementation support, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in detail. They give us assistance through community and stakeholder engagement. So a lot of the organizations will organize events, for instance, and we will send our teams who will do outreach to just make sure that we are doing registration, that we're finding out if people need a language assistance, that we're really kind of being present in that community, because a lot of communities especially the newer languages that have just been added, like Gujarati, community members didn't even know that that was a language that they could request materials in. And so finding that out through community fairs is very important. And then resource and strategic development. And so that's really like, as we think about some of the things that are at the back end, you don't even see it necessarily, but it's the processes that make that bake in access into, you know, every part of our system, really bringing those partners in to see, you know, the nuts and bolts and helping us think through how we can be better about coordinating and improving our processes. Next slide. So these are some of the key responsibilities of LAC. I don't want to read each one of them. This is baked into our charter. But really, we have a lot of people who spend time giving us feedback on a lot of these pieces, right? Again, I'll talk a little bit more specifically, but there are a lot of things where they've got an event, they have a new ethnic media outlet, you know, and they want to introduce us to how to do outreach there, or they've got some ideas about how we can improve the provision of translations. Next slide. We also have some criteria, and I heard you all talking about elections, so I don't. It sounds like it's something very similar, though we allow everybody to come in because, you know, we're sort of at the more local level. What I'll say is that there is a real priority on finding people who are actively engaged in their communities, have a background in working with those communities first and foremost, and help us to understand what it means when you are, when English is not your first language, or English is a language that is learned, how to bridge those language barriers. So those are our priorities. Next slide. Now, some of the examples of collaboration and partnership are, we actually map out based on census data and where people have requested language assistance and information that we're getting from other sources like universities, where our needs are based on geography, right? And then we'll spend some time sort of seeing, okay, based on that, how many people do we want to place at a particular location? And I realize that in Oregon, you all are primarily vote by mail. We have moved to that place slowly, where we mail everybody that vote by mail ballot without request, and then they can return it. But we still find a lot of people who have language assistance needs and disability needs. They want to come in person. It just feels like for them, either the assurance of sort of being walked through a process, or being able to bring a neighbor in or a child in to help them walk through the process, but having an election worker gives them confidence that the ballot that they're marking is going to be cast and counted. But as we identify where those needs are, right, and these are all cities within Los Angeles, we will then have a meeting with our committee, and they will help us to sort of look at that and say, okay, we can see that you've got some spots that have not been filled, and we're going to help you recruit in those areas. Next slide. So, for instance, we'll look at election by election. Here's how many, this chart on the left is, it says, for instance, and I'm just going to look at Kamai at the very top, right? Our recruitment target is to recruit 160 plus people, right? And currently we've recruited 46. Oh my goodness. So we really need some help. We have 120 something that would be ideally, you know, filled if we could, you know, place somebody at every location that we would like to. And so we spend some time kind of talking through with our partners to figure out, based on the languages and where we'd like to place them, how can we do a better job of reaching out? And that's a process that starts fairly early, and we're constantly checking in with our community partners just to see what can we do to make sure that we get those numbers, so that we're fulfilling what we think, where we think the need is. We're also providing to our community partners a number of things like digital toolkits and media toolkits that kind of explain all of the processes for this upcoming election. The digital toolkit is like a lot of materials that they can use to push out that are translated, right? And they'll say things like election worker needed, we'll pay you a bilingual bonus, or vote early, and here are the days that you should look in your mail because you can expect to receive a ballot in the mail, things like that. Or if you need assistance, here's the telephone number to call. So those kind of digital toolkits we share with our multilingual team and our advisory committees, and then they help to push it out to the community. Next slide. So to the right-hand side is just some of the materials that we create in multiple languages, right? And, really one of the biggest things that we're constantly coming to our committees to do is to help us get the word out about bilingual election worker recruitment. The nice thing is that, it's paid. And so in some ways, it's a bit of a win-win for a lot of the organizations. They like to be able to share with members or their communities, opportunities for people to be employed. We additionally recruit a lot of people to be translators in-house. So that's another area that we recruit people who are bilingual. In the 2024 election, we had about 5,000 election workers who were bilingual. Let me just say that about half of those are Spanish speaking, or just over half. And that actually kind of across the board, even when it comes to people calling in for assistance on our multilingual hotline, more than half are Spanish speaking, and then spread out amongst the other languages, are the remaining calls. Next slide. So these are just some quick ideas for collaboration. We worked with our Human Relations Commission in the county, and they developed a lot of materials that were about voting and also, addressing racism. And at the time, there were a number of things that were happening, whether that was anti-Asian hate or other things. So they created buttons and videos and all these other things that simultaneously pushed a no to hate, but also a yes to vote message. And we worked with them to translate everything into our 18 languages. So this was like a lovely collaboration. And oftentimes within government, there are entities that are dedicated to particular aspects. And I'm just going to mention the Human Relations Commission. The other thing that we recently did was our community came to us and said, we're very nervous about the law enforcement presence. You all have experienced it just like we did. That is directed at immigrant communities. And we were being told by our Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department that they were not going to send law enforcement to respond to situations where other law enforcement were involved. And so we had this dilemma because the community was saying, if that happens, what can we do? What if there's law enforcement sent to the outside of a vote center, for instance? Or what if, they're targeting people at a school that also happens to have a location where people are picking up, their ballots and their kids. So we collaborated with the Human Relations Commission to develop a program where people who are trained in de-escalation and mediation could partner with us, be deployed out to locations. And in the event that something were to happen, that there would be a way to hopefully address, de-escalate the situation in a way that did not involve more and more law enforcement, but also would address the concerns and fears that our community members are raising. So I'll just share that sort of not on the slide, but one of those things that, as you think about how to be responsive, sometimes one partnership can lead to another. Next slide. So obviously voter registration at community events. This is this crazy event that one of our partners did in Little Tokyo. It's gigantic. And then we had voter registration there and lots of people came. And they like to vote in costumes. So because Halloween happens to be so close to Election Day, it was always a fun thing. Next slide. We go on campus, so a lot of our campus groups will bring us on to kind of vote, to register people to vote. And obviously you've got a prime population that is just turning to the age of being able to vote. Oftentimes young people are also a really good bridge in terms of being very interested in helping out with elections and potentially having some level of bilingual ability to also help out if you have vote centers. Next slide. We have a lot of sessions where we bring our communities in to test out things like our new voting machines or where we're going to place, our vote centers or things like that. And so we use our LAC not only to help us develop these big glossaries and give us feedback on, how we can outreach to the community, but also to kind of talk to us about our election processes and how we can improve them, or new tech that we're thinking about deploying and how we can make it as understandable as possible. Next slide. Yeah, so infinite possibilities for collaboration. These are just some of them where we're kind of working. Our community folks told us we would, now that the citizenship swearing in ceremonies are no longer so easy for outside groups to come to for a variety of reasons, policy and otherwise. Can we be sure, LA County, to be at those citizenship swearing in ceremonies so that we're offering that multilingual opportunity to register as soon as somebody becomes a citizen? That can be a very exciting partnership, because then coming under the umbrella of the LA County Registrar, we are providing all of the basic materials, but then, we have community partners who are perhaps coming in with bilingual ability to be able to communicate with the people who are coming out. So lots of possibilities for potential collaboration. And I think that's it. Yes. Okay. So that's all, and I'll leave the rest for questions and answers. And let me do this if I could. I'm going to pop into the chat. This is the link for our multilingual services. And if you scroll to the bottom, you will see our 18 glossaries, or the glossaries for 18 languages. And to the extent that you all are developing glossaries, there's no reason why we shouldn't be sharing information and potentially, helping you to develop those. And it sounds like you all have some languages that we don't. And this December, we're going to probably be asked to add maybe somewhere between 2 to 5 more languages. And so I might be coming to Oregon to ask if you all have glossaries for those languages.
Yeah.
I think that's all.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I think we have some questions, and yes, I think we can share our glossaries with you. We have them.
Great.
We can share the link, but let's see. I think I see some hands up. Let me see for questions. Tatiana, we can start with you.
Hello, good evening. Great presentation, such interesting information. Thank you. I wanted to ask you, do you have registration cards in different languages also? Because I was at 2 naturalization ceremonies this year, and in Ukrainian, people wanted to register and actually had difficulty because there was only English language cards available. And I thought, oh, they could have used like English, Ukrainian language registration card. I wonder if you have similar experiences and if you have your registration cards translated into different languages.
We do. So what I will say, what's interesting is that at the state level, our required languages are 9. And so they don't cover, the same number of languages. But at the county level, that's where we've got the 18. And so perhaps what I can do is collect some of the, I'm going to make notes as I go along and share those with Kelly afterwards. And then maybe Kelly can send it out to the group.
Can do that.
Yeah. Any additional questions for Kathy? Comments?
I'll throw out one of those things that you only think about when you obsess with things. So for many, many years, when we first started, what we did was it was a big deal to create a 1-800 number that was a bilingual assistance hotline. But recently when I started, I called the hotline, and basically it's one standard number, and then we have a number of options. And option 3 gets you to multilingual assistance hotline. And so I called it, and the options are all in English. And so we had some discussion about this with the team, like, okay, well, if you're calling and you needed that assistance, then how do you get to 3 if it's all in English? And then even if you can navigate to 3, then you hit 3 and you get a person who's a dispatcher, but that dispatcher only speaks English. And then that dispatcher has to listen to your language and figure out how to send you to the right translator. So the upshot of that is that we then created direct telephone lines for each language with some ability to roll over between translators. And we have dispatchers who are at least multilingual, even if they don't speak all 18 languages. And so one of the smallest things was just that we've now started to promote those telephone numbers that are direct telephone numbers. So when we send materials in Spanish to a voter because they requested materials in Spanish, the number that's listed is not the general 1-800 number, but that very specific one that is dedicated to Spanish. So when you call, if you called, you would not be going through 2 steps of English before you get to Spanish. And those are just the kind of small things where, you know, I think that perhaps in imperceptible ways, it makes a difference for the person who's calling to try to seek assistance, that they'll stay on the line and they'll actually ask, and maybe they turn around and feel more confident about voting. So, yeah.
I agree with the comment in the chat. Tatiana, I saw your hand up. We have a few more minutes.
Yeah, I was curious, you know, what 5 languages. I was surprised not to see Ukrainian on your list of 18 languages. I was wondering if you'll be adding Ukrainian, because I thought there is a big Ukrainian language community in the Los Angeles area.
We go based on the Secretary of State doing kind of analysis based on census numbers. So those 2 kind of buckets, the Voting Rights Act and then our state law that says 3% of a precinct. And so we are waiting to see what languages will be added. And I don't know. We're actually supposed to hear about it in mid-December, so it could be. And if Ukrainian is not one of the languages, I'm happy to talk to you offline to see if we might be able to share resources and talk with you about how we can offer. So in some instances, languages don't end up getting covered because they're not. So as an example, on the census, they're not asking if you're Ukrainian. So there's a little bit of imputation that the Secretary of State has to do to figure out. A lot of South Asian languages are the same thing. People will say that they are from they might say, Indian, but then that doesn't tell you what language that is. So there's a lot of imputation beyond that. And so I think our challenge is always then to work on identifying if there's a large enough population, then we would sometimes we'll just decide to offer some services in a voluntary way.
Thank you, Kathy. I see 2 hands up, 3. We're starting to run a little bit behind of schedule. So Tamara, I know you've had your hand up for a while. So Tamara, if you can ask your question, and then I'm gonna invite the two other people, Sakaya and let's see, maybe Sakaya, if you want to type your question in the chat, we can send that to Kathy.
Yeah.
So you can
I'll
respond
say
to us.
I'll
I'm sorry, but
stay on and just answer questions in chat, so that you can stay on time. So whatever number of
appreciate
questions
it.
you can handle.
Thank you. And Tamara, go ahead.
Thank you very much for the great presentation and a lot of work that is being done. And thanks for sharing the link to the glossary. I looked at it and I was wondering how you selected terms to be included into the glossary.
This is something where, you know, over time, a lot of times these were terms that were used frequently and sometimes specialized is what I'll say. It's not, I mean, you'll see a lot of words that are not specialized, but a lot of times they're words where, I'll give us a very simple example. The title of our office is Registrar, Recorder, County Clerk. What is that in another language? You know, what is a registrar? What is a recorder? You know, what is a county clerk? You know, and that has a very specific American meaning, right? So yes, there are times when the terms that we pick are because there's not an easy one-to-one, and or they're used frequently, and that's how we ended up putting it in the list.
Thank you.
And sorry, I can't type, but I want to add on this part is Sutapa. I looked through the glossary too, and I love it. Thank you for sharing, because it's just like little dictionary for our language, actually. So that was nice. Thank you.
And if you ever see anything where we're missing a word or you would challenge how we're saying it, I will say recently I was speaking to our Spanish translator about votantes versus electores. And like why one versus the other, and sometimes we use one and sometimes another, and there's a very active conversation about this. So I cannot remember which way we ended up with, but I'll just say that sometimes what we do is we look at what is ethnic media using more frequently, right? Because if it matches up with what ethnic media is using, that sometimes is the difference maker, right? Because if somebody is hearing it in the news or reading it in some other way, then that's going to be the term that we use, even if it's a word that is kind of constructed to match what the English meaning is.
Yeah. Kathy, Kathy, sorry, I shared the link to our glossaries here in the chat so you can have it. And I want to thank you again for being here tonight, and for the council members. I know this topic is of interest to us. We may have additional questions, so you can continue to write those questions in the chat. We have Kathy, she will spend a few more minutes with us to answer those. But I also want us to move along. And Kathy, again, thank you so much for coming. Yeah, we have a lot to learn. You're doing really, really good work. Yeah, it's a great role model, I think, for us too. I want to start our community time really quickly, revisiting the results of our votes for the vice chair position. It appears that we have a tie between two of the nominees. So Kelly was doing some research about our options to resolve that tie. Kelly, do you want to share what our options are?
Sure. Yeah, that was very interesting. So we operate loosely under the Robert's Rules of Order. And so I did some research on the break. And we had Holly take all of the responses from the written chat and the verbal to make sure that we were getting all the votes. So it looks like some of the options are, it looks like we have a couple of members in attendance who did not cast a vote. So not the two who abstained, but two others. And one of the ways we can resolve it is to continue the vote with the two members, and perhaps that might provide an answer. The other secondary option is to do a verbal roll call and do the vote again. And the verbal roll call would be called by alphabetical last names of the members. And the president or the chair in this position would be the last to vote. So those are two viable options.
Okay, thank you. I would love to try to hear from the members that are present that maybe did not cast a vote. Again, not that abstain, but that maybe did not cast a vote. I don't know if they joined late or, but that could be an option, a good option to start with. So we had, it looks like, let me see who.
We
Sorry,
think the missing votes may be, if you're still online, Sahar and Lowell. Are either of you online?
Sahar and Lowell, are you here?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, awesome. Would you like to either say verbally or write in the chat who do you want to cast a vote first? I guess that's my first questions for Vice Chair.
Who are the two tied?
Yeah. Oh, well, we have 3 nominees. They are.
I don't remember seeing that email, but maybe I.
Oh, well, I wondered if you joined after we did the vote for the Vice Chair.
Yeah, I had a hard time joining Teams. That code and everything gave me a few minutes to
No
join
problem.
late, so I'm sorry.
Oh,
okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So we have 1 additional vote from Sahar. Thank you. And Lowell, we are voting if you would like to vote. We have Flor Prade, Natasha Emery, and Li Gui. Sahar.
No problem. Okay. Lowell, would you like to cast a vote for one of those 3 nominees?
And this is for Vice President? Vice Chair?
Vice Chair, yes. And the 3 candidates are Fleur, Natasha, and Lee. You can also abstain if you don't feel ready.
Yes, and the other option, by the way, would be that the motion failed and we would postpone the vote until another time. We are not required to have a vice chair in our bylaws.
Yeah, I'll abstain.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Holly, with that additional vote and the Lowell's abstaining, does that change the tie? The outcome?
It makes it more of a tie.
More of a tie.
3-way tie.
Yes.
A 3-way tie.
We are more tied than before, but thankfully all of our members have a lot of support. So there's
yeah.
that.
Okay. So, well,
So,
Kelly.
Magda, I think your choice now is to either say the motion failed and not elect someone tonight, or go through a roll call and see if any votes will change. That would change the outcome.
Yeah.
And the roll call would be to keep it completely transparent.
Can I ask a question? Would it be helpful if one of us nominees changed our vote in favor of someone else? So we will complete the voting process today.
And I would say on that one, everyone is allowed to vote. The chair is allowed to vote, and you can vote freely of your own will.
Okay,
Anyone
so
can change.
can you announce the actual numbers so we will know and then make our informed decision, please?
And I think there might be is there another hand up here?
Yes, I see
Tatiana or
Tatiana.
Tatiana. Zakia, was your question for Kathy, or is it about voting?
For both.
Pardon me?
Okay, for both. So Zakia,
Okay.
yeah, can you ask your question about the voting?
Well, I posted earlier. I feel like both of them serve the things that actually matter to me specifically that I think will serve. We need standard technical, and we also need a community connection and police like, and they both have the same thing. So as of right now, I was looking the charts that you created earlier. We are all like more into the community outreach and all of that. We're all good in there, but I feel like having that standard, access and accuracy is like more important right now, especially for the new members too. So I don't know. Please, I don't know.
Zakia, is that, well, sounds like a comment, but it doesn't seem like you're changing your vote. I'm gonna go with Tatiana and then Lowell, and we'll, I think, make a decision about the election of vice chairs today. So Tatiana.
Since we had a new nominee and I guess not everybody had a chance to learn about all the nominees, and since we don't have to have somebody voted on or elected at this meeting, can we postpone? I would be happy to have a motion to postpone until the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and Lowell?
I'm not sure what it really says in our bylaws if we can have two chairs, vice chairs, but if there was two candidates, but now there's three, I'd just say give both the two nominees. But since there's three, it's really hard to vote for. They're all great people. They're hard workers. They've been. It's really hard to vote for all three of them. So
yeah.
And I would say the
you know,
statute says we can have a chair and a vice chair.
Yes.
So it has to be
And we
one.
don't have a requirement to have both.
Yeah. Well, and I think that this just goes to show how meaningful and how much interest there is and how important serving as vice chairs is. So given that we have a three-way tie, I think we can formally consider this election failed and repeat it again during our next meeting. That will also give us a little more time to get to know our candidates. So yeah, we can't have a three-way tie. So officially nobody is elected as the vice chair today. I wanted to have a vice chair, but let's
Magda?
revisit this next meeting. Yes.
Magda, I think you should quickly take a verbal vote, have someone make a motion that the group discuss it and would like to call it a failed election.
Thank you. And so Tatiana, I think you wanted to do a motion to repeat the election. Would you want to do that formally?
Yes, I would like to motion that we don't have anybody elected at this meeting and we postpone the election until next time.
Great. Thank you, Tatiana, for your motion. And does anybody want to second the motion?
I second the motion.
I was going to second, but yeah.
Thank you, Natasha and Lowell, for your second motion to have a second election. So thank you everyone for your vote, for your interest. Our three candidates, thank you for your offer, and we'll continue to consider this. I know we have 1 minute left in our
Magda, I think we
yes.
still have to vote on the motion.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Ay,
So
ay, ay.
let's do a verbal vote. Let's do a verbal vote. So you can unmute yourself, and if you want to approve the motion to postpone or to do a second election for vice chair, please unmute yourself and say yes.
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 Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And
Well,
if there's
before-
anybody not in favor of doing a second election, please unmute yourself and say no. Great, thank you. So that motion is accepted, and we will do a second round of votes in our next meeting. Again, sorry, it's hard to stay on time. We had some interesting things happen today, a great speaker, lots of questions. We had a few minutes reserved for community time, which is a time where we can share announcements, news, ideas, and hear from each other as a council. It is 8 also, and I know we all have probably other things to do. So my proposal is that we are gonna send a post-meeting evaluation, and I really want to invite everybody to complete that and to share your thoughts, questions, comments about today's meetings and today's topics. We can make more time in our next meeting to address that and to address everything that we were unable to discuss today and share. So we will send the evaluation with the notes of today's meeting via email for all of you. Let me make sure that I'm not missing. Kelly, am I missing anything about the evaluation survey?
Nope, I think you got it all. Good job.
Okay, we'll email it to everybody. I can stay here for a few more minutes, so if anybody wants to stay and connect informally, still please add all your comments to the survey so they are captured. But I want to thank everyone for the time, for your contributions, for your interest. And I'm looking forward to our next meeting where we can spend more time together. I'm going to adjourn the meeting officially and wish you all a very good night.